See that star right underneath the 7? That's my papa's signature.
That's quite a signature.
After years of mystery, the puzzling death of legendary actress Natalie Wood has finally been solved. In a stunning discovery, investigators have uncovered new evidence that sheds light on the tragic events of that fateful night. But what is this revelation that has solved this mystery? And how will this affect her legacy? Join us to explore this evidence. The silent shadows of Natalie Wood's last night. The tragic and untimely death of Natalie Wood has left a deep mark on the entertainment world. To this day, the mystery of what happened on the Splendor yacht continues to haunt those who remember the beloved actress. Known for both her stunning beauty and incredible talent, Natalie's disappearance on that chilly night in 1981 raised more questions than answers, and the investigation that followed only added to the confusion. When Natalie went missing, hours passed before anyone reached out for help. What's even more puzzling is that Robert Wagner, her husband at the time, didn't immediately allow the captain to start the search. The delay was unsettling, especially given the oddities in Wagner's retellings of the night. Every time he spoke about it, the details seemed to shift, deepening the mystery surrounding the events of that fateful evening. As the years went on and the case was reopened, Robert's reluctance to fully cooperate only fueled more suspicion. As the investigation continued, new information began to surface, shedding light on parts of the story that had been kept hidden for so long. The autopsy results were alarming. They revealed marks of injuries on Natalie's limbs and face, suggesting she might have been involved in some sort of struggle before she drowned. In addition, toxicology reports showed that she had a mix of alcohol, motion sickness medication, and painkillers in her system, leaving her vulnerable and potentially impaired. Rumors of a heated argument between Natalie and Robert, the night of her death, also began to surface. Witnesses said the fight was intense, full of anger and harsh words. Police took these reports seriously, and Lieutenant John Carina, who was leading the reopened investigation, confirmed they had received multiple credible leads. These leads, he believed, could finally provide answers about what truly happened that night. Then, the unexpected happened. Actor Christopher Walken, who had been aboard the Splendor at the time, decided to speak out after years of silence. In a rare interview, he shared his recollections of that night. He mentioned that Natalie had gone to bed earlier than everyone else and was resting in the rear cabin of the yacht. Walken speculated that she might have gone outside to fix a dinghy that had been hitting the boat. He spoke carefully, offering some insight, but leaving certain questions unanswered, adding another layer of intrigue to the story. Even though time has passed, Natalie Wood's last moments remain shrouded in mystery. With new evidence and testimonies from previously silent witnesses coming to light, there is still hope that the truth will one day be revealed. The tragic events surrounding her disappearance continue to puzzle, but with each new piece of the puzzle, the possibility of clarity grows stronger. Let's do back decades to see her journey through to the bitter end. What was her young days like, and how did she make her mark in the world? The gentle beginnings of Natalie Wood. Natalia Zakharenko, who the world would later know as Natalie Wood, was born into a life filled with both hope and hardship. She came into the world on July 20th, 1938, in the beautiful city of San Francisco. Her parents, Maria and Nikolai, were Russian immigrants, hoping to leave behind their troubled past and find a fresh start in America. But like many who chased the promise of a better life, the road was not always easy for them. Life in a new country brought its fair share of struggles. The family often faced money problems, and settling into a new culture came with many challenges. Still, through every hard moment, one thing never changed: Maria's bright hope for her little daughter's future. She believed deep in her heart that Natalie was born for something special. No matter how difficult things got, Maria held on to that dream, and it became a guiding light for their family. Natalie's family history was filled with stories of both heartbreak and courage. On her mother's side, Maria's family once lived comfortably in Barnaul, a city in Russia. But when war and unrest came, they were forced to flee. First, they sought safety in China, and later they made the long journey to the United States. Before meeting Natalie's father, Maria had a daughter named Olga from a previous marriage to an Armenian mechanic, a star before she could even dream. Natalie Wood never planned to become an actress. In fact, her journey into the world of movies started quite by surprise. It was 1942 when little Natalie was just 4 years old and her family moved to Santa Rosa, California. They were hoping for a peaceful life in a simple home, not knowing that something magical was about to happen. Not long after they settled in, a movie was being filmed nearby. The crew was busy with their work when they noticed a lively little girl with sparkling eyes and a sweet smile. That girl was Natalie. Without any acting lessons or experience, she captured their attention with her natural charm. It was impossible not to notice her. Soon enough, she was offered a tiny role in the film. It wasn't a big part, but it marked the beginning of a very special adventure. That small chance led to her first appearance in a movie called Happy Land. Even though her moment on screen lasted just 15 seconds, Natalie made people remember her. Something about her presence stayed with those who watched. Before long, a kind director named Irving Pichel saw something truly rare in Natalie. He believed she was meant for more than a small role and stayed in touch with her family, waiting for the right moment to help her shine. 2 years later, that moment came. Irving called Natalie's mother with exciting news about a new movie. Maria, always believing in her daughter's future, didn't hesitate. The family packed their things and moved to Los Angeles. Natalie's father wasn't sure about this sudden change, but Maria's hope and faith won over. At just 7 years old, Natalie landed her first big role. She played a German orphan in Tomorrow is Forever, alongside famous stars like Orson Welles and Claudette Colbert. One emotional scene required Natalie to cry on command. When she struggled, her mother, in a shocking moment, crushed a butterfly in front of her. Heartbroken, Natalie wept, delivering the powerful scene. It was a harsh moment for such a young child, but it showed the world how deeply she could act. From that day, Natalie's natural gift for acting amazed everyone. She didn't just play her characters, she became them. More roles followed in films like The Bride Wore Boots and The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, where she played Gene Tierney's daughter. With each film, Natalie proved she was more than a pretty face. She was a true star in the making. Her biggest break came in 1947 with Miracle on 34th Street. In this beloved Christmas movie, Natalie played a clever young girl who doubted Santa Claus existed, until a kindly old man changed her mind. The film became a holiday favorite, and Natalie became one of the most famous child stars in the world. Though fame opened many doors, it also brought its challenges. Natalie loved acting, but had to keep up with her schooling too. California law required child actors to study for 3 hours every day. While other kids went to regular schools, Natalie did her lessons on set. She was especially good at math, and directors often admired her quick mind. Still, she sometimes felt bad knowing everyone on the set had to wait for her to finish her schoolwork before they could start filming. Behind the scenes, Natalie's life wasn't always as glamorous as it seemed. By the age of 8, she was working long, tiring days, sometimes up to 12 hours straight. The hard work wore on her little body and spirit, but back then, few people worried about how she felt inside. The focus was always on making sure she gave a perfect performance. What propelled her to the spotlight? Let's find out. Fight for a role that changed everything. When Natalie Wood starred in Rebel Without a Cause in 1955, everything about her life changed. The film spoke to a whole generation. It told the story of teenagers who felt lost, misunderstood, and desperate for love and acceptance. People everywhere connected with it. And at the heart of the movie was Natalie, playing a troubled young girl named Judy. Natalie's performance was full of real, honest emotion. She wasn't just acting, it felt like she was living those moments on screen. Audiences felt every tear, every smile, and every heartbreak she showed. Critics praised her, saying she was no longer just a sweet child star, but one of the best young actresses in Hollywood. But getting that role wasn't easy for Natalie. The The film's director, Nicholas Ray, wasn't sure she could do it. He only knew Natalie as the kind, innocent girl from earlier films. He wondered if she was brave enough to play a rebellious teenager. He even thought about giving the part to someone else, like Debbie Reynolds. Natalie, however, was determined. She believed in herself and knew she could handle the role. For the first time, she stood up for what she wanted. She begged for a chance to audition, proving how much this meant to her. And in the end, her courage worked. She got the part. Once filming began, Natalie gave it her all. She worked hard, spending long hours perfecting every scene. She wanted people to feel Judy's pain, her fears, and her hopes. And when the movie finally came out, it worked. Audiences loved her. Reviewers wrote about how natural and moving her performance was. Still, life behind the scenes wasn't always easy for Natalie. Fame isn't as glamorous as it looks. While acting in Rebel Without a Cause, she was also a teenage girl, dealing with the normal ups and downs of growing up. Only she had to do it in front of the whole world. On top of that, things on set were sometimes tense. Natalie was in a car accident with actor Dennis Hopper during filming, adding stress to an already emotional movie. Then, just after they finished shooting, something truly heartbreaking happened. James Dean, the film's star and Natalie's friend, passed away suddenly in a tragic car crash. The whole cast was heartbroken. For Natalie, it was a loss she carried with her for a long time. Even with the sadness, Rebel Without a Cause became one of the most important movies of its time. Brightest moments in the spotlight. Natalie Wood's career was filled with special moments that showed just how talented she really was. One of the biggest happened in 1956 at the Academy Awards. Natalie was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for her wonderful performance in Rebel Without a Cause. She didn't win that night, but just being nominated was a huge deal. The following year, Natalie's hard work paid off again. She won a Golden Globe for Best Up-and-Coming Talent. It was an exciting moment for her, as this award meant she was officially one of Hollywood's brightest young stars. It also opened new doors, bringing her more grown-up and meaningful roles that let her show off her incredible skills. Throughout her career, Natalie appeared in 56 movies and TV shows. She charmed audiences everywhere with her warm smile, expressive eyes, and natural way of bringing characters to life. Even as times changed and new stars came along, Natalie stayed close to people's hearts. Later in her life, Natalie found new success on television. She starred in popular shows like The Cracker Factory and From Here to Eternity. In fact, her performance in From Here to Eternity was so powerful that she won another Golden Globe in 1980 for Best Actress. You might think through her accolades that her life was like a bed of roses, but in reality, it wasn't. What struggles brought her to greatness? Let's dive into it. Rise to stardom, filled with struggles. By 1961, Natalie Wood had grown from a cute child star into one of Hollywood's most loved actresses. That year, she truly showed the world how talented she was, starring in two unforgettable movies, Splendor in the Grass and West Side Story. These films made it clear that Natalie wasn't just a former child star. She was a powerful actress with a bright future. In Splendor in the Grass, Natalie played Deanie, a young woman going through heartbreak and deep sadness. To prepare for this difficult role, Natalie spent time learning about people in mental hospitals, hoping to understand their feelings. One famous scene shows Deanie breaking down in a bathtub. Natalie performed it in one single take, with such real and raw emotion that everyone watching felt it. Her beautiful performance earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, a huge honor. Soon after, Natalie took on another big role, playing Maria in West Side Story. The film told the story of a young Puerto Rican girl who falls in love with a boy from a rival gang. Even though another singer provided Maria's singing voice, Natalie's acting was so touching that audiences everywhere fell in love with her character. The movie was a massive hit, winning 10 Oscars, including Best Picture, and Natalie's performance was one of its brightest highlights. These two films marked a special turning point in Natalie's career. At just 23 years old, she had already proven that she could take on any role and shine. But as her career grew, new challenges followed. In 1963, Natalie chose a bold role in Love with the Proper Stranger, playing a young woman dealing with an unexpected pregnancy, a topic rarely talked about in movies at the time. In one especially emotional scene, Natalie improvised her lines, making the moment feel heartbreakingly real. This brave performance brought her a third Academy Award nomination. Even with all this success, Natalie started to feel trapped. The roles being offered to her all felt the same, and she longed for parts that were deeper and more meaningful. In 1966, she made a daring decision. She bought her way out of her contract with Warner Brothers, paying a lot of money to finally have the freedom to choose her own path. But freedom came with a price. Natalie began getting fewer movie offers, and life in the spotlight started to wear her down. That same year, feeling overwhelmed and deeply unhappy, Natalie tried to take her own life by swallowing sleeping pills. Thankfully, she survived. After that scary moment, she stepped away from the public eye and took time to heal. She made big changes in her personal and professional life, leaving behind her old team and starting fresh. Natalie was determined to find peace and take control of her future. Natalie Wood's triumphant comeback and bittersweet farewell. In 1969, after being away from the spotlight for 3 years, Natalie Wood made a sparkling return to the big screen. She chose a daring and modern film for her comeback called Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. It was a bold move, but it turned out to be the perfect choice. The movie was a huge hit, earning almost $32 million, even though it was made with just $2 million. Audiences loved its fresh and fearless story about love, honesty, and relationships in a changing world. In the film, Natalie played Carol Sanders, a woman exploring new ideas about love and marriage. It was a risky role for that time, but Natalie played it beautifully, showing a new, braver side of herself. Her wonderful performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination, proving she could still captivate audiences just like before. As the 1970s arrived, Natalie's heart began to shift. Instead of chasing big movie roles, she wanted to slow down and spend more time with her family and loved ones. Around the same time, television was becoming more popular, and Natalie easily made the jump from movies to TV. In 1973, she starred in The Affair, her first big TV project. Natalie played a married woman caught in a complicated relationship. The show was a big hit, with nearly 30 million people watching. Once again, Natalie's charm and emotional honesty shone through, reminding everyone how special she was. Then, in 1979, Natalie had her biggest TV success. She starred in From Here to Eternity, a 5-night miniseries that drew an incredible 39 million viewers each night. People couldn't take their eyes off her. That role finally brought Natalie a well-deserved Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, a sweet victory after many nominations. That same year, she also took on a role in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, a character made famous years earlier by Elizabeth Taylor. Natalie made the role her own, adding her unique warmth and strength, and critics praised her for it. In 1981, Natalie began working on what would sadly become her final film, Brainstorm. It was a science fiction thriller about a group of scientists creating a machine that could record and replay human memories. The film was ahead of its time, using special 70mm technology for its exciting visuals. Natalie played a smart, caring scientist caught in the mystery of the experiment. Tragically, Natalie's life was cut short before the movie was finished. Most of her scenes had already been filmed, but the cast and crew were devastated. For a while, no one knew if they could finish the movie without her. But director Douglas Trumbull was determined to complete it as a way to honor Natalie's memory. With the help of clever editing, stand-ins, and Natalie's sister Lana Wood, they managed to finish the film. Brainstorm was finally released in 1983, nearly 2 years after Natalie's death. Though it didn't do well at the box office, people praised its incredible visual effects and unique story. Over time, it became a beloved hidden gem in the world of science fiction. Amidst all this hurdles and victories was a woman who wanted to be loved. What was her personal life like? Let's find out. Natalie Wood's love story. When Natalie was only 16, she found herself in a complicated relationship with a 43-year-old director named Nicholas Ray. At the time, some people thought it showed how serious she was about her career. But years later, Natalie admitted this chapter in her life left her with painful memories that stayed with her for a long time. From a young age, Natalie had a crush on actor Robert Wagner. She even told her mother she would marry him one day. And as she grew up, her dream came true. They became a couple and tied the knot on December 28, 1957, in a romantic ceremony in Arizona. The world saw them as Hollywood's perfect pair, and their love story felt like something out of a fairy tale. But behind the bright smiles and flashing cameras, things weren't always easy. Natalie's career was booming, while Robert struggled to find the same success. The gap between their careers quietly created distance between them. Rumors swirled in 1961, with whispers that Natalie had found Robert in a heartbreaking situation at their home. Whatever truly happened, the hurt was too great, and the couple separated in June 1961. Their divorce was finalized in April 1962. After her marriage ended, Natalie began a passionate but stormy romance with actor Warren Beatty. At first, it was exciting and full of promise, but soon, constant arguments and emotional strain made the relationship difficult. Natalie later described it as exhausting and painful, another chapter that left her heart heavy. In 1969, Natalie was ready for peace. She found comfort in British producer Richard Gregson, a quiet and gentle man introduced to her by actor Robert Redford. After dating for 3 years, they married on May 30, 1969, in a beautiful Russian Orthodox church in California. For a while, Natalie felt calm and content. Then, in September 1970, she welcomed her daughter, Natasha. The little girl filled Natalie's world with joy and gave her a new sense of purpose. But as Natalie poured all her love and attention into being a mother, her marriage to Richard began to fall apart. He felt left out, and their closeness slowly faded. Then came the hardest blow. Natalie discovered Richard was having an affair with her secretary. Heartbroken and betrayed, she asked him to leave and filed for divorce in August 1971. It was finalized the following April. Even through the pain, Natalie stayed strong for Natasha, focusing on her daughter as she quietly healed. And then, something unexpected happened. 10 years after their painful breakup, Natalie and Robert Wagner crossed paths again. In early 1972, both were single, and when they saw each other, old feelings came rushing back. Friends warned them to be careful, but Natalie believed in second chances. She felt that time had changed them, and their love had grown wiser. On July 16, 1972, they remarried on a charming yacht named Ramblin' Rose, floating gently off the coast of Malibu. The ocean stretched wide around them, offering the perfect setting for a fresh start. It was a tender, hopeful moment, a quiet promise to begin again. Together, they built a new family. In 1974, they welcomed a daughter, Courtney. Robert also lovingly embraced Natasha as his own. At last, it seemed Natalie had found the happiness she had longed for: a peaceful home, a loving husband, and 2 beautiful daughters. But fate had one more heartbreaking twist, thinking she finally found peace only for her life to be cut short. What events led to the loss of this movie legend? Stick with us. A beautiful star, lost at sea. Beloved actress Natalie Wood's sudden and mysterious death on November 28, 1981, shocked the world. What was meant to be a peaceful weekend trip turned into a heartbreaking tragedy, leaving behind countless unanswered questions. Natalie, her husband Robert Wagner, her co-star Christopher Walken, and the yacht's captain Dennis Davern set out on a boat called Splendor for a relaxing getaway to Catalina Island. At first, they planned to invite a few more friends, But in the end, it was just the four of them, hoping to escape the stress of Hollywood and enjoy some quiet time by the sea. On November 27, 1981, they left Marina del Rey and sailed toward Avalon, a pretty town on Catalina Island. Natalie, Robert, and Christopher spent their day walking around, shopping, and sharing laughs over drinks. Meanwhile, Dennis stayed behind on the boat, making sure everything was in order. It felt like a simple, happy trip among friends. As the evening came, the weather started to change. The air grew chilly, the wind picked up, and light rain began to fall. Hoping to find calmer waters, Robert decided to move the yacht to a quieter place called Two Harbors. The sea was rough, the wind howled, and it felt like the night was going to be anything but peaceful. Still, the group tried to make the best of it. That night, they had dinner at the only restaurant nearby, Doug's Harbor Reef. They arrived around 5 in the evening and stayed for hours, enjoying food, wine, champagne, and cocktails. By the time they left around 10:30 p.m., it was clear they had all been drinking quite a bit. But back on the boat, something changed. Not long after 11 p.m., a loud voice broke the night's calm, shouting, "Leave my boat!" Then, there was silence. At the same time, a woman named Marilyn Wayne, who was staying on a nearby boat, heard a woman's voice crying out into the darkness. "Help me! Someone please help me! I'm drowning!" The voice begged. The desperate cries went on for about 15 minutes before everything went quiet again. This was especially alarming because Natalie had always been terrified of dark water. Her closest friends knew she would never willingly go outside on a boat at night, especially in bad weather. No one could understand how she had ended up in the water. Sadly, help didn't arrive in time. Though someone last saw Natalie around midnight, the Coast Guard wasn't called until 3:30 in the morning, and the captain of the rescue boat, Roger Smith, wasn't contacted until after 5 a.m. Nearly 6 hours passed before the official search began, and many people have wondered why it took so long. But with these new discoveries, there might be a glimpse of hope. Let's explore it together. New clues. A mystery that won't fade. Many years after the tragic loss of Natalie Wood, new hope appeared in the search for the truth. Thanks to modern technology and fresh witness statements, old secrets slowly began to surface. While many believed her death was a simple accident at sea, disturbing facts started to emerge. A key clue came from John Payne and his girlfriend, Marilyn Wayne, who were on a nearby boat that night. Around midnight, they heard a woman's voice crying for help from the direction of Splendor, the yacht Natalie was on. The voice pleaded again and again, while a man's voice, sounding drunk, replied, "Okay, honey." Marilyn later admitted she had a terrible feeling something bad was going to happen to Natalie that night. Even more troubling, Marilyn revealed that Natalie had once shared fears about her own safety, hinting that Robert Wagner, her husband, might be a danger to her. If this was true, it suggested a much darker side to their relationship than anyone had known. Years later, the case was reopened, and experts began reviewing the old evidence using modern tools. In 2012, a major change was made to Natalie's death certificate. It no longer listed her passing as just an accidental drowning. It was changed to drowning with other unknown factors. This small but powerful change hinted that there might be more to the story. During the new investigation, Robert Wagner's story also began to shift. He admitted to having a heated argument with Christopher Walken that night about Natalie's career. Wagner confessed that he lost his temper and smashed a wine bottle on the table. This was very different from what he had claimed before, when he said there was no serious fight. His new version now matched what Dennis Davern, the yacht's captain, had been saying for years, that the night was filled with tension and strange moments. With Wagner's confession, Dennis's words could no longer be ignored. These new details, along with the updated death record, breathed fresh life into the mystery. People began to wonder if something darker had really happened that night. The sad, puzzling story of Natalie Wood's final hours remains one of Hollywood's most talked-about mysteries. Behind the glitz and glamour, Natalie's life was filled with both shining moments and quiet heartbreak. Even now, the world searches for answers, while remembering a beautiful star whose gentle light continues to shine. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.